Hi, thank you for clicking on this video. We're the Traveling Herbivores, and we wanted to talk about love today.
We've been together for 5 years now, and we think we've built a pretty strong foundation. Though our relationship is not perfect, we think we have some tips and tricks to kind of, help you get through those little rough patches. Speak from the heart, baby. What's our first topic?
Nurturing each other and our passions. You don't want somebody that's gonna bum you out when you come up with a new thing you want to do in life. You want your best friend to be kind of on board and like down for everything, whether it be like cutting your hair or moving to Australia. Like, you want your partner to be positive and your rock for whatever you want to do in life.
That's a great point, Mimi. Yeah, it really is. And something that kind of reminded me of that is, I think you want to tell your partner when they're doing something that is negatively affecting you or them. What I mean by that is, there was a time where Mimi was, sorry to throw you under the bus here, but was on her phone, I thought, and I felt a little more than she should have been. And I mean, especially during this past election and stuff like that, Mimi was on TikTok, was on Instagram, and I could feel that shift in her energy because she could be so happy in the morning. We just had coffee, we just made breakfast. It was cool, it was awesome. And then, you go on your phone for a little bit and you see that shift in the mental energy, and it was a little rough. So that was something I had to bring up to her. And don't get me wrong, I'm guilty of that as well, 100%. But when you notice it, I think that is a good time to communicate that and bring it up to the person.
Yeah, and also I want to add that it's how you communicate with your partner that's really important too, because
Right.
For example, Ryan could be like, "Ugh, get off your phone, what are you doing?" Then that's just going to put me in a really weird, awkward mood. But instead he could be like, "Hey, I've noticed you're on your phone. It's okay. I just want to know if you're doing okay mentally," and just coming from a place of love and not attack.
Yeah, there's definitely a correct way to approach that. And I think it varies from relationship to relationship as well. So, I mean, maybe this is something you want to sit down with your partner about and kind of communicate. Like, okay, that was actually one thing. Oh, I love this. We're getting deep in it. This was one thing that we talked about because we would, in the early stages of our relationship, we would bring up these certain things. And it would come across almost like attacking, like Mimi mentioned. So I was like, or we were like, we need to sit down and we need to talk about how to bring stuff up to each other that's not gonna piss someone off, or anger or inflate the situation. We think that is a key to kind of bringing up those negative things. And it's gonna happen. We're people, we're humans. So maybe sit down with your partner and talk about how you could approach a situation like that in the future. And who knows, it might just avoid a fight,
Speaking of communication, something that's really important is also having the same life vision, goals, aspirations. That's something that is often talked about in the beginning of a relationship, but you really want to make sure that if you're trying to build like a long-term relationship, you have those same wants out of life. I mean, if if one person wants kids and the other one doesn't want kids, maybe you might find some like happiness in between, and you can figure it out, definitely, but it's just going to be more stressful. So it's important to recognize what you both want out of your life, because remember that you're individuals in a relationship. You're not just a relationship.
Yeah, that brings up another kind of interesting tip, and something that we do is we love to do check-ins. I mean, whether that's relationship check-ins, life check-ins, we'll sit down, we'll find time, we'll sit down and we'll talk about what we want to do, what's coming up next, what do we want to plan for, what do we want to achieve. Having those check-ins can really just help keep the relationship on the trajectory that you want. And, if it's not the same trajectory, then maybe that's something you have to consider, and something you might have to have a serious talk about. We've had to have a talk like that before on various subjects, but you got to talk about it, you know? Communicate. It's the only way to kind of work through those differences, you know, if you want to stay with your partner.
Yeah.
That leads me into our next topic, which is have the money talk. This is something that is not talked about enough in relationships. I mean, for goodness sakes, it's the number one, it's like the number one reason for divorce and breakups. It's people fighting over money. And one thing that happened to us in Australia where I was at fault, where I was just thinking so much about money. I was like, oh, we're spending all this money, we're doing this, we're doing this. And it was a real like stopping point in our relationship. And, you know, we nearly broke up because of it, because I was so fickle about it, and because I would get angry about it and stressed out about it and get anxiety because of it. But we stopped and we talked about it, and Mimi told me what I was doing that was because it was something I didn't realize, you know, and it's something I had to learn. And I'm kind of rambling at this point.
No.
But it's I think money, you got to talk about it, you got to get it out of the way, or you got to drop it. And I think that's what I did. I mean, it's still in the back of my mind, and I'm still trying to be that better partner that doesn't stress about those things. But, you know, that's an everyday struggle. Everybody struggles about money. Everybody thinks about money. But you got to do it in a healthy way where you're not like lashing out.
Yeah, just basically like don't become fixated on money. It is important to talk about and figure out a game plan about like, oh, do we want to save up for a house? Do we want to save up for a trip? Like, what are we doing with our money? But also, like, that's not the whole purpose of existence, is like having money. It's also like finding tiny pockets of joy throughout the day that makes you happy. And if you're constantly stressing about money and the future, then you're not truly enjoying life.
Yeah, 100%. And I feel like that's what's gotten me through it personally, is my stress about money, is that I've had some scares with my health that have made me think, you know, what if XYZ happens tomorrow? I can't take this money with me. We're only here once, you know? I mean, it's YOLO, am I right, kids? But it's so true. It's like, you can have this money, you can save it up, you can stress about it, you can let this anxiety build inside you, or you could just say like, you know, F it. I'll buy these art supplies. I'll buy this meal. I'll go here. Let's do this. I don't care how much it's gonna cost. It's let's have fun while we're here. You know.
Something else you can work on is staying spontaneous in your relationship. In the honeymoon phase, you're wooing your partner by being extra romantic and buying them gifts and taking them out. But once you have that relationship, a lot of the times you kind of forget about your partner and you just become, what's the word I'm looking for?
Complacent.
Yeah, complacent, right?
Yeah.
You just like, a lot of people, they just forget about their partner and they forget that they're still like in a romantic relationship. So you want to continue that. So it could be, you know, just figuring out your partner's love language. If somebody likes touch, like Ryan likes touching, so I don't want to get into that.
Whoa, we're getting a little personal there, maybe. No, I love random acts of just kindness. That's my love language. And I do like touch. I like, you know,
the head scratches.
Yeah, head scratches, you know, chilling on the couch. I'll lay my head down on Mimi, and, you know, I like the head scratches. What can I say? I'm basically a cat. But Mimi's love language is like little gifts, I've noticed. If I go out and run to the store, you know, pick up something a little special, like, you know, fruit or a bag of Takis. Mimi loves that stuff. And that's kind of how we keep it spontaneous. And also just being a child at heart, you know. I think we make this joke that we're basically like 12. We've made this joke before because we just do things like play games and have fun and go out. Like, it's snowing right now. We went out yesterday and grabbed a snowboard and just like randomly went out. We didn't even put on snowboard boots. We put on our hiking boots and just went out there and had some fun. So it's finding little things, and they don't have to cost money. You don't have to go to the store. You don't have to buy flowers. It could just be little simple things.
Yeah, you could do like a Bob Ross paint night, or you could just like plan out a cool movie. I can't think of
Make
anything.
dinner for your partner, but make it cute. Set up a candle. That's all you have to do. It's just these little tiny minuscule details that will help your relationship feel more spontaneous, make it feel more romantic. And ultimately, you won't get bored of each other because of that, because you're doing those things. And it's nice, especially, 5 years is a long time, but it's also not a long time, To us, to me personally, I feel like it's been a year, we've done so many things together that time has just flown by, and you're like, holy shit, 5 years of my life. Wow. In a good way, not in a bad way. There's a difference. If you're like, whoa, 5 years? Oh my God, where have the 5 years gone? You might want to have a talk. But it's a good thing if it's fast.
You know what radiates main character energy? Dance. Just dance. Who cares?
That's true.
You don't have to be drunk to dance in public. Ryan and I are always dancing. Like when we go grocery shopping, and that could just be our personality. Like that's what makes us happy and gives us some extra serotonin. But we like to dance a lot, and that just makes us feel happy and spontaneous. So you got to find the cutesy little things in your relationship if you guys are struggling.
And it goes back to that childish mentality. Like, don't be afraid to look like a fool in front of your partner. They're your best friend. You're with them. You're not trying to impress anyone else but them, Another topic we wanted to talk about was learning to have your own life. Now, that doesn't mean, totally excluding your partner from certain aspects of your life, but taking time to be yourself, to decompress, to spend away, especially during quarantine. It's been a year already. We've been stuck in the same house together. And I say stuck not negatively, just as an adjective or a noun or whatever. I don't know English. But finding things to, separate yourself. I like to play video games with my friends every once in a while. And lately it's been a little more than it should be. But I take that time, and sometimes after work, I'm just, don't want to do anything. I just want to play some games with my friends. And so that's kind of my thing. But it's my thing, but it's also our thing, because sometimes we'll play together. We'll play Overwatch. We'll sit next to each other. We haven't done it in a minute, but it's also, introduce, say, hey, do you want to play some games? I feel like playing a video game with you. I feel like playing chess with you.
Wait, we're talking about being separate.
Yeah.
That's being separate.
Oh yeah, true. You're right.
Well,
I feel like there's a fine line, though. I feel like this is good content, because you want to have that separate life, but I feel like you don't want to exclude,
Yeah, I get that.
Like say quarantine's over and you have a life and you love to go out and hang out with your group of friends.
Okay, wait, I have an example.
Sure.
So when Ryan and I go out with our group of friends, usually all my energy is focused on my friends, because I don't see them as often as I see Ryan. So I'm primarily trying to hang out with just like my friends. And if I'm constantly by Ryan, then I'm just leaning on that person too much, and where I don't have a life, I can't have like my own opinions, my own voice.
Yeah.
And so I mean, I'm just speaking about past relationships. When you become so engulfed with somebody that you don't even have friends outside of that relationship, that's when it becomes unhealthy, because you are your own person and you are allowed to aspire to do other things outside of a relationship. Like I went to New York Fashion Week and I lived in New York for like 3 weeks by myself. Ryan came and visited me for like 4 days, but like I got to go out there and live my own life. And that's healthy. That's really healthy. Do your own thing.
That was good.
Thanks.
That was real good. That's a great example. Good job.
Thank you.
Was that weird? Should we redo that one?
No, I liked it.
I liked it too.
Okay. So we just finished watching this movie on Netflix. I forget what it's called, but it's right here. And the whole time we were all like, wow, they're really mean to each other. And I think that's something that people forget when they're in relationships is they're kind of bullying each other when they're in the middle of fights. So they're not thinking before they're speaking, and they end up saying something that they don't really mean. And that's not cool because you're just going to end up resenting your partner if they're constantly telling you mean things.
That was something I used to do. I mean, not abusive, but it was a little toxic, and I can admit that, where I would say stuff in the middle of a fight just out of the heat of the fight, not because I actually meant them. And it was something Mimi told me to think about. It was like, imagine your words are leaves on a tree. Mm-hmm. And every time you say something hurtful, that leaf is just going to float down. And if you keep doing it over and over, apparently that after time, that tree will become bare. Mm-hmm. Your words are leaves on a tree. Don't lose them. Mm-hmm. So you got to respect each other. You got to not name call. You got to take a break, take a step back, and not do stuff like that, and talk about it.
Yeah.
And that kind of leads us into one thing that I love doing when we get into a middle of an argument or something, or we're just like, when I can tell both of our energies are off, we like to separate, take a second, and look at our horoscopes. I know this sounds very cheesy and very like, whatever it could sound like, but you take that time to separate, focus on something else, maybe look at your chart and like, oh, today, don't engage in arguments or something. And I think it helps bring in this other perspective, and you also get that time away to like calm down, and then you can reconvene, talk about mm-hmm. it from a different perspective, Mm-hmm. I explained that not in the best way.
No, you did.
Yeah?
Yeah, basically just like, if you're getting too heated and like you start raising your voice at each other, which is never healthy, then you just kind of want to separate and like really process your emotions. Like, are you feeling this way because Mercury's in retrograde, or is it because your chart is, well, we're spiritual, so we think it like about like the moon's energy.
Yeah.
Other people may not think that way. Other people would be like, oh, I'm having these life experiences, life situations that are causing me to act this way. So once you fully process your emotions and your feelings and you're ready to talk about what you need to talk about, then you could sit down and come from a calmer perspective.
Yeah.
And it's just like not being snappy at each other. Like, Ryan and I see a lot in movies and TV shows that a lot of the time relationships can be very mean and kind of like they're bullying each other.
And you're just like, wow, do people actually do this? But it happens and people are in it. And I think we're fortunate enough that we've been able to communicate about that, like make that a point not to ever do that shit. Mm-hmm. And I think it also relates to knowing your partner's brain. Mm-hmm. So that kind of transitions us into another topic, which is basically understand where your partner's coming from, whether they are dealing with stress at work, stress because of another situation, anxiety because of X, depression because of Z. Know what's going on in your partner's life, and also be conscious of people's brains, your partner's brains. Me, for example, I have ADD like crazy. So Mimi will tell me to do something like 5 times. I'm not even kidding you. And it's something I'm trying to work on and be more conscious of. But she'll tell me something repetitively, and I will just be in my own headspace and not really hear her. I hear her, but I don't. And it's something I need to work on. But Mimi can be very understanding that I have ADD. Sometimes it might aggravate her, but other times, she's like, okay, wait, Ryan, you're having an ADD moment. Could you please do this? And that helps me, like, oh shit, I have been ignoring. I have been...
Spacey.
like, right?
Sorry. It was too perfect.
It was too perfect. I'll take that. I'll take that.
Yeah.
That punch.
It's not
true.
like you're really, really like super ADD, but sometimes it is frustrating, and it might be really easy for me to just be like, Ryan, come on, why aren't you listening to me? Which I'm sure I've done in the past, but then I try to be mindful about that, and I think before I speak. It honestly comes just down to communicating and thinking before you speak. That's the whole summary of this video.
Yeah.
But that's important, is to like figure out your partner's brain chemistry. So our last and final point is follow your gut. Trust your intuition, because at the end of the day, if you really sit with your emotions and meditate on how you're really feeling, you're gonna know what to do, because you're smarter and stronger than you know. And a lot of the times people think that there's a perfect way to be in a relationship, but that's not realistic. At the end of the day, every relationship is different, and as long as you're mindful of your feelings and your thoughts
And the other person's feelings.
and the other person's feelings and thought, like, if I'm not talking about us, but hypothetically, if you were constantly talking about, oh, I would love to live in India for 5 years or whatever, and then I didn't visualize my life like that at all, then we would have to like probably think about breaking up. And that's just the reality. If you're in a relationship, you're growing together, and it's okay to not be in a relationship, and it's okay to grow in a relationship. Yeah.
What was that thing you were telling me? It was take a long, hard look in the mirror. If you have a rough patch, if you're disagreeing about something with your partner, stop, take a minute, look at yourself in the mirror, trust your gut.
Yeah.
Because you know deep down what you really want in that relationship. And you have to trust your gut.
Yeah.
You have to trust your intuition.
And I know it sounds kind of crazy, but whatever. Talk to yourself. Talk to yourself in the mirror. Be like, hey, Mimi, how are you feeling today? Are you okay? Blah, blah, blah. You know, because you are your own best friend, and you really want to be following your intuition. I mean, nothing is granted in this world, and if you're not living your highest self, then you're just going through the motions in this life.
And it's too short to do that.
It's way too short. Why are you going to be in a bad relationship if you're not happy? If you're constantly unhappy, do something about it. And it's easier said than done. And I've definitely been there before, where I felt stuck in a relationship. But at the end of the day, when you trust your gut and you follow your intuition, good things will happen.
So one thing we wanted to mention again, we are not perfect as a couple. We have our flaws, but we think that we've built a strong foundation, and we think these are things that we do that help our relationship flourish and grow and become what we want it to become. We're manifesting this positive relationship, and you can do the same too. And we're like, don't follow us. Like, things are different for you and your partner. Things are different for everybody. But hopefully you find some comfort, you find some help in these tips, and maybe it's something you can apply to your own.
It's okay to reach out for help too. If you need to talk to a professional, a therapist, do it.
Please talk to a therapist. Everybody should talk to a therapist. There's nothing wrong with
Asking for help.
Yeah.
Well, happy Valentine's Day.
I want to end on a positive note.
And if you're single, also don't feel obligated to be in a relationship. You are your own best friend
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
And if you're in a relationship, still be your own best friend.
Have any of these tips helped you? Do you follow any of these tips? We're actually genuinely curious to know. Like, what are your tips? What are some things that you feel is super healthy that you and your partner do, or that you do by yourself? If you're in the dating scene, what do you do to kind of manifest that positive relationship with your side people, you know? Like, we're curious. We want to know because everyone's different. And, you know, the more information that is here, the more people can grow. So feel free to be yourselves down in the comments. Let us know what's going on. We'd love to help, and we'd love to hear. So thank you so much for watching this video. Happy Valentine's Day. We hope you find love and happiness and a beautiful person to snuggle up with, whether that's yourself, a companion, an animal,
companions,
a stuffed animal, more companions,
random companions. Every relationship is beautiful at the end of the day.
Yeah.
As long as it's healthy.
Yeah. We love you. I love you.
Thanks.
Happy Valentine's Day.
I love you too. Happy Valentine's Day. Bye.